Hello, welcome back to Happy Heart 1111. Today's topic is inappropriate elders of Indian society. Before I start today's video, I want to tell you that just skip this video if you believe that a person should be respected because of their age or position, and you just disregard the fact that that person has done something which is inappropriate for a human or for a person of their age, and you just blindly follow this belief system that anybody who has attained a certain age, maybe senior citizenship, or whoever is elder than you, or who has earned certain material achievements, should be respected irrespective of their conduct, of their behavior, of their actions. Then please skip this video because you are going to get triggered, and I am discussing some very opposite notion or belief system than yours, and it would not benefit you because you already are brainwashed and you will not understand or get anything positive out of this video, so just skip it. Second thing, the reason I have made this video is because girls in this patriarchal society face this in almost every household, because being a girl myself, I have gone through it, and whatever thoughts I am sharing through this video are based on my response or what I felt when I was exposed to that kind of environment, or this kind of a regressive patriarchal thinking towards females in our society. So there is nothing wishy-washy or something which is coming out of some uh, commercialized idea that I want to gain views, or I want to gain attention, or I want to propagate any victimhood or anything. But the fact that females are, in our society, are suppressed from a very early age, and that too by their own known people, that it ends up in cases like we are seeing currently, that is in the case of Tuisha and Deepika and all the females who have faced the evil consequences of being forced into this system of marriage, which is purely motivated to benefit the men in the society at the cost of life of females. And to stop this, we need to address the root cause of this problem, where it starts and how it starts, and how it impacts the psychology of a female growing up in this kind of a inappropriate upbringing or inappropriate environment, where she is constantly forced for one and the only thing, that is marriage. And marriage is made such a big deal in the life of a female that by the time she even attains the age of marriage, where she should be getting married, she feels demotivated and reluctant to get married, because since her childhood only she has been harassed, humiliated, or heckled for this topic called marriage, that every time she is even hearing this word called marriage, she gets triggered. She just hates the idea, and she feels anything but negative and claustrophobic about this idea of marriage, because that's how I feel about it. Because I have been raised in a environment where people around me, that is the elders around me, would always push me or somewhat encourage me, motivate me, or try to brainwash me with this idea that the only thing that would settle me, that would save me, or would uh, helped me grow in life is marriage, even though majority of those elders had the worst marriage, the most problematic, chaotic, and you can say broken marriage, because it's not necessary that you are divorced and only then you have a problematic marriage or your marriage is not working. You can live in the same house with your spouse without being satisfied or happy, and that is how the marriages of the women of yesteryears, that is the marriage of our grandmothers, our mothers, our aunts, survived according to the society, because they didn't went for a divorce, but inside the four walls of their house they were constantly fighting. They were not happy for a single moment in their married life, in their entire married life. So, having said that, now I can be assured that whosoever is listening now is having a open mind to understand the things or the thoughts which I'm going to share through this video, and try to bring a change in the society if you can at any level. And let's hope for a more progressive society for the females, and wish that no female, young, middle aged, or old, have to end their life or have to live a miserable life just to sustain their marriage or just to show society that the marriage is working. But in reality, it's fallen apart and it's only causing pain to the females. So I have prepared my notes so that I can be precise. However, today's topic would take a little longer time than usual, because I have touched a lot of aspects, and I hope you make time and then watch this video and understand the deeper meaning which I'm trying to convey through this video. So let's start. Once the elders in the family come to this realization that a girl who is apparently of their daughter's age has reached puberty and her body is showing up signs of becoming a woman, they suddenly become focused on only one aspect of her life, and that is to get her married as soon as possible. So when girls reach a certain age, maybe around the age of 13 or 14, she undergoes a lot of changes in her physical appearance, and that is attributed to menarche when she starts having her periods. And technically, according to the society, she is now ready or has entered her childbearing years, and she should be married as soon as possible. And in the legal sense, the marriageable age is 18 years of age, but in our society, the preparation starts even before she touches the age of 18 years, because all the family members or relatives, they are more bothered about how to make her a suitable bride who is obedient, who is naive, who is retaining her virginity, who is going to sacrifice herself to sustain her marriage even at the cost of her life. At around the age of 13 years and above, most girls enter womanhood when they experience menarche, and as a result, their personality starts undergoing changes. Now she gets her periods every month. She suffers from period cramps. She suffers from mood swings, physical changes, and all this grabs the attention of both the known and the unknown people around them. The known people are, of course, her own parents, siblings, relatives, and the unknown are the ones who start glaring at a girl because of her changed physical appearance. That is when she is traveling, she is commuting, she is walking on the road as a pedestrian. So now she has started getting unwanted attention from the perverts in our society, if I may mention it in the correct sense. So all these changes are basically giving this signal to the society that now this girl is ready to create more babies and to fulfill that role of an ideal woman who is married and who has kids and who is dedicating her life to sustain her marriage, raise her kids, and bring up her kids in the best possible manner by facilitating them with good home cooked food and do everything to ensure that the kids are scoring well in exams and all that stuff which we already know. In few years, she attains 18 years of age. She is ready for college life and she is ready to explore the world. Now, this is what she has in her imagination. However, the society or her family members has some other plans. She is excited about experiencing life as an adult and has big dreams to make the most out of her youthful years. So, after 18 years of age, technically she is out of school, that system which is restrictive, protective, and is a closed environment. But after 18 years of age, now she thinks that she can finally live her life at her will, at her own terms. She wants to establish herself as an expert of her field and wants to enjoy the freedom of being independent. She hopes to work as a professional. She wants to earn good money. She wants to spend that money on her guilty pleasures, maybe owning some luxury article, hanging out with friends, traveling to beautiful places, and making her parents proud. But all those fantasies are brought to a halt by the gloomy idea of the elders in our family, which haunts her soul and clips off her wings of desire. This idea is that of her marriage, which is introduced to her without being asked for. So when I completed my 12th, or I should rather say, when I was only in my 10th grade, I was somehow nudged by my relatives that the only thing that I should be hopeful about in the future is that I would be married off and I should understand the responsibilities of a married girl. I should learn cooking. I should learn to manage the household chores, keep my house manageable or in a well managed organized situation apart from my studies or exams or other aspirations. Now my priority should be to become a eligible bachelorette, because ultimately what a girl is good for, only to get married and work as a slave, as a bonded laborer in some stranger's house. The uncles, the aunts, the grandfathers, and the grandmothers, the cousins, and even her own parents, whom she wanted to make proud with her growth and achievements, are stuck at the thought of her marriage. So, everybody around you are only looking you as a most unrequired or unwanted object in the family, which has to be get rid of, and therefore they keep on directly or and indirectly give you this idea that you have to get married. You should just be in your limits. You should not dream big. You should not uh, think that you can outsmart boys, or you have any existential value without a man who would be deciding everything for you. And the very famous line that anything and everything which you desire to do in your life or achieve in your life, you can do it after your marriage. The elders in the family are somehow convinced that the girl is now mature and ready for nothing else but marriage, childbirth, and lifelong trauma. These elders find the girl young, incompetent, immature, naive, and hopeless with regards to other pursuits of life, such as higher education, profession, traveling, financial independence, socializing, and making a life of her own. Like if a girl is getting an opportunity to study in a different city or work in a different city, that is always avoided by the family members or is considered unimportant, because eventually you are not smart and mature enough to take care of yourself alone, and you cannot protect yourself in a alien or a new unknown environment, but you are somewhat ready and mature to get married to a stranger and to work as a unpaid servant in a unknown environment which they call as your in-laws house, and you can get exploited, and you are very much equipped, or you have that capability to tolerate every exploitation or humiliation that would be imposed on you by these strangers. And these strangers can also be residents of a different state, city, even a foreign land, but you are not mature and smart enough to go in a different state or a different city or a different country to study or to get uh, hired as a professional. So that was the case in my family, and that is the case in most of the families, because they eventually think the only thing they can afford to spend their precious ancestral wealth or money is on the gold which would be given to the beggar, like grooms and his family, which is filled with this greed and conceitedness, that they are from the groom side, so they can just demand anything and everything. And they can also demand that your daughter should always be ready and should tolerate to get exploited. So basically, Indian parents are rich enough to spend on a big fat Indian wedding, on expensive gold, on your other expenses related to marriage, which is technically called dowry, but they cannot spend a single penny in your education and in your professional growth, because that would make you a career oriented woman, a independent and strong woman. And how can you serve patriarchy by staying silent, even if you are getting humiliated or even if you are pushed to a mental state where you would like to kill yourself, but that freedom is too expensive for Indian parents. The elders find marriage is the ultimate option for the girl to stay safe, secure, and settled in life. God knows how our parents looking at marriage as a system or a mechanism to settle their girls, because all I have seen growing up, that after a girl is married off, all she is experiencing in her life is chaos, humiliation, and she is unsettled not only in her physical existence but also in her mental and psychological existence after getting married. So how marriage is correlated with being settled, I have not understood till date. In marriage also, arranged marriage is the only way or norm or the modus operandi, because it's the moral duty of the girl to procreate babies to maintain the population of her caste and community. Now, I just want to ask this question that when parents or relatives or society say that what the community members or your caste members would say if you get your girl married off in a different caste, religion or community, because it's such a shame in your society, in your caste, in your community, because you have technically taken away that possibility or that vessel of human creation, or that machinery of human creation from that community, and you have given it to some other community or religion. But when the same girl is pushed through her limits to an extent where she decides to end her life, or maybe she is even murdered in a marriage, and the guy or the groom was from the same caste and community, or the girl is facing or is living in a marriage where each moment of her life she feels like she has been given slow poison or some kind of a slow death, where she is dying each moment of her life, but she is just alive in front of the society. Why doesn't the caste and community member come forward to rescue that girl who has agreed to marry a guy of the same caste and community to please the caste and community members? Why don't these caste and community members step up and compensate for the pain, for the loss, for the humiliation which the girl goes after she gets married to a guy who is unknown, is a complete stranger, and the only reason she got married to that guy was because she wanted to please her parents and the community and caste members, because that's what is her moral duty. But in practical life that doesn't happen, because the girl is supposed to please the caste and community members, but the caste and community members are not supposed to protect her or compensate her for the humiliation, loss, or the frustration she is experiencing in that marriage, which was never her first choice. It hardly matters whether she is ready for marriage or not, whether she likes the groom or not, whether they are of same age group or not. I mean, people are just getting their girls married off because the guy is of their caste and community, and they are ignoring every other aspect which should be under consideration, that they are not even of the same age group. How can you get your girl married to a guy who has insane age gap? I mean, how will they navigate through life when they don't even understand each other at the same level of consciousness? Because age difference creates a lot of problems in the marriage, because they cannot understand or agree with each other on various aspects or decisions of life, because their ideologies or belief systems are different. They can also be of different generations, but who cares? The only thing that matters is that they are of the same caste, community, and religion, and after that, everything will get managed, or the girl would be asked to get herself adjusted and adapted to all the other absurdities of that mismatch marriage. They don't even consider that they don't have similar personalities, they don't have similar choices, they are not even compatible with each other. But who cares? Because all she is supposed to do is to obey her parents and please the caste and community members. The one and only thing that matters is that marriage is being arranged by the elders, that is the grandfather, the grandparents, the uncles and aunts, the parents. The only thing that matters is that the marriage is being arranged by the elders, the wise old elders who are more mature and who know everything that is right for a girl, because eventually a girl is a dumb asshole. She doesn't understand what is good for her and what is bad for her. But yes, she is mature enough to give birth to a child at an early age of maybe between 18 to early 20s, and she can satisfy a completely stranger guy on the bed, and she can work 24/7 like an unpaid robot to satisfy the in-laws. The one and the only thing that matters is that the marriage is being arranged by the elders. Boy is of the same caste and community, and the community members are happy. What else can a girl expect? I mean, she doesn't have to have big dreams. Everything for her has been pre-decided by the elders. The girl is expected to be comfortable and ready to agree to the marriage proposal. The fun fact is, the elders find it absolutely inappropriate if the girl hangs out with her friends, moves to a different city for study or work, talks to the opposite gender of her age group, or comes home late due to work. But the same elders somehow find it moral, suitable, and rational that the girl should marry a guy about whom she is clueless, should establish sexual relationship with this stranger, become pregnant, suffer the pregnancy trauma, labor pain, postpartum depression, have sleepless nights to raise her child, tolerate unsupportive husband, narcissistic in-laws, and everything immoral and illogical that has been justified by the Indian patriarchal society. So, how hypocrite are these elders who think that by arranging a marriage for a girl, because she belongs to their caste and community, they are doing a favor on her, and they are ignoring the fact that she is a human born with free will, and she has her own aspirations to fulfill in that human life, rather than pleasing these inappropriate elders in her family by ruining not only her mental peace, but also being sexually traumatized by having to sleep with a guy whom she doesn't know anything about, whom she doesn't even like, and she has to spend the rest of her life with that asshole. I mean, do Indian elders even realize and consider that marriage is a sexual relationship? It is not a casual friendship where you would go out and date, and you will meet in public places and then come back home. No, it is a intimate relationship. No other relationship has intimacy like a marriage. And this decision is a very personal decision and not a community decision, not a family decision. A girl should get married when she feels that she wants to get married to XYZ guy with whom she feels the possibility of spending her rest of her life peacefully, not to satisfy the elders in the family. Elders find it shameful if the girl talks to the boys, if she makes a boy her friend, not a boyfriend. Even if a girl is caught talking to a boy casually, just like a friend, then also the elders would frown upon her as if she has done some like a big crime. If she sits behind the bike or scooter of her male friend, if she is laughing and enjoying a normal conversation with a male friend, but they find marrying a complete stranger, mating with him, abused by him, subjugated by him, and exploited by him, the most natural, moral way of life for that girl. Like, wow, you really have double standards. You don't want the girl to even talk to the opposite gender, but you expect her to sleep with a stranger guy, procreate offsprings with that guy who is a complete stranger against her will. Are you like in your senses? Are you even understanding that what are you exposing that girl into? What kind of a miserable traumatic life are you exposing that girl? I know that young girls get tempted to wrong pursuits in life, like dating multiple people or sleeping with them, or establishing physical relationship before marriage. And there is always this fear of her becoming pregnant before marriage, and she might have to undergo the risk of abortion. And the most alarming one for all the Indian elders, that is being tagged as a loose character woman, or in the correct vocabulary, being slut shamed. Like, who will marry a girl who has been spotted roaming around, hanging around with multiple guy friends? And those guys might be just friends. I mean, they are not even romantically into her. But the fact that Indian elders are judgmental and they have double standards, so we cannot question them. But to avoid those risks, the elders can choose to educate the girl about the probable risk of the mentioned scenarios, and to encourage the importance of staying alert and staying protected. The elders can't treat the girl like a toy or a puppet or a doll only meant to please them by obeying them and by sacrificing herself. Now, elders in our Indian society think that the girl is a plastic doll, and they can have a lot of fun by getting her married off, because eventually what they are waiting eagerly and are interested in the marriage of a girl is because they can have fun in all those uh, illogical ceremonies, which don't even like promise her a peaceful life, forget about happy life. If elders in the family are really concerned about the well being of a girl, then they should encourage and facilitate her in becoming financially independent and strong, rather than pushing her to get married at an age when she should be building her career to become financially strong. Like, when I was in school, and just after I had stepped out of that schooling era of my life, people in my family were just bothered about me being married. The only thing they could think about me is that the only thing you are suitable is by becoming a bride, or in the correct sense, a servant or a slave in somebody's house, which is like narcissistic and sadistic, because when nothing about marriage is good for a girl, then how can you promote that idea? And living in an age and generation as mine, how can you expect me to agree to a concept of marriage which is based in the times of my great grandmothers? I mean, what are you asking me to do? To live a life which was lived by women in the ancient times, or maybe in the pre-independence or during the independence time. But instead, the elders are determined to keep the girl dependent. Don't send her outside. Don't allow her to study in a different city. Don't allow her to talk to the opposite gender, or allow her to hang out, or go outside the house, or work in a different city, even if that work opportunity might provide her that foundation by which she can become financially strong, and eventually she would not have to marry someone because of financial need, but because she loves someone, which is not even considered in our Indian society. Now, the fact that her own parents and elders want to keep her dependent financially, socially, emotionally is enough of a signal to her that she is not being guided towards a primrose path. She is being guided towards hell. And if she is not wise enough to deny those proposals, or to uh, even fight with these elders when they get on your nerves, she would end up being one of those girls about whom we listen today that have ended their life because of the extreme humiliation that they experienced after getting married, because of the pressure from their family members and the elders in the family. But instead, the elders are determined to keep the girl dependent, miserable, and vulnerable to a life of slavery. So it's a vicious circle into which the girls in our Indian society are pushed into, and they are blamed for their situation. Now, they are pushed into marriage because they are given this idea that they can never become financially so much independent or strong that they can sustain their life alone. So the most practical way of living life is to get married as early as possible, because your market value in the marriage market is high. So you would be picked up or selected by any guy easily, because you are easy to be tamed and be controlled. But as you age, you would become more wise, and you would stand up for your rights, and you would not tolerate. So your chances of being selected would be less. And then when she gets married eventually, if she suffers from a unsatisfied marriage and she wants to separate, or she wants to get divorced, she is given this same reason that she cannot get divorced because she is financially dependent. And because she is financially dependent or financially not that strong, then how can she survive without that husband, even if that husband is the cause of pain in her life in every form possible? So she is pushed into marriage because she is financially dependent, and she is asked to sustain that marriage because she is financially dependent. So the whole cause and the problem is financial dependency, and financially weak person who needs to be pushed into this hell called marriage in our Indian patriarchal society. The fun part is that the elders are not even going to pay for her dowry, for her marriage expenses, except for her own parents, who are going to bear the expenses of those relatives who wants to enjoy and have a fun time in all the stupid ceremonies that has been formulated to make the girl feel like a scapegoat. And these elders are neither going to pay the risk of her being exploited after marriage by her husband or in laws. I wonder on what basis they interfere in such a personal matter of a girl, that is marriage. Why these relatives or elders in the family would provoke and would instigate the parents of a daughter, that the only thing they can do and should do is to get them girl married off as soon as possible, because that is the best way or the most rational way of settling their daughter. And these same elders or relatives would not be seen anywhere near when there would be a situation where your daughter would be seeking divorce, would be going to uh, court courtrooms and facing all those false allegations, and would try to get freedom from that problematic marriage. They are not going to stand by your daughter, they are not going to compensate for the loss of your daughter, they are not going to even help your daughter to get out of that bad marriage into which these elders in the family have pushed her into, to ensure that they feel satisfied and pleased, and they had a good time attending all the absurd and illogical and overrated ceremonies of marriage, which doesn't give any assurance about the sustainability of marriage. The elders in the family want to ensure that the girl marries a guy of their religion, caste, and community and procreate children for their community. Hence, they heckle her and force her to get married as soon as possible. Now, after marriage, if she suffers and if marriage becomes unsuccessful, then these elders or relatives or community members wouldn't compensate for her loss or her sufferings. But still, the parents of the girl would find it completely logical and convenient that she should get married to a guy who has been recommended by the elders, relatives, and the community members. In fact, the same elders in the family who arranged the marriage of the parents of that girl, which has been so chaotic, problematic, abusive, unstable, and traumatizing, not only for the parents but also for the daughter who has suffered in that marriage growing up. But the parents of that girl would still agree to commit the same mistake which they committed and ruin the life of their daughter also, just like their own. Let me tell you that every girl wants to get married and live a happy life with a companion who is her best friend. But when she grows up witnessing troublesome marriages of her own parents, of other elderly couples in her family or her known circle, she becomes extremely careful while taking this decision. And she realizes that the only thing that would keep her safe, secure, and satisfied in her life is by becoming financially independent, not by marrying a person at an age in which she should develop the skills to become financially independent. Also, when a girl is financially independent, she has better options than when she is financially dependent, because all the toxic guys are filtered out as they avoid an independent girl who is wise enough to say no to things which are exploitative in nature, and the fact that she cannot be suppressed. Even if she stays unmarried after becoming like financially independent, she happens to find no one suitable enough to get married, then also she is secure for her future, because her parents don't have to worry about her survival, because she is earning enough to uh, support herself financially. Now she will marry a guy for love, not for need, which is the biggest reason why girls end up into toxic marriages. Because the reason they are pushed into this hell of marriage is because they are made to feel that they should get married, it is a need, otherwise who will look after you, who will pay your bills. But when she is already independent and she is looking after herself, she is not looking for a guy to get married because she needs any material support from that guy, but because she seeks love, she seeks companionship. But Indian elders are more interested in keeping the girl weak and obedient rather than empowered, because otherwise how will these toxic guys and their family members would succeed in making her a slave, making her a target, a easy soft target for their narcissistic tendencies. Because an empowered girl would not tolerate any bullshit to save her marriage, and most guys are determined to resort to toxic behavior towards their wives. Hence, Indian elders would do anything to keep the girls weak, miserable, and dependent, to ensure she stays a victim but sustain her toxic marriage. They wouldn't allow her to study, travel, work, socialize, or enjoy her youthful years. They just want her to become an unpaid servant, a licensed prostitute, and a human breeder to a complete stranger whom she doesn't even like. Forget about falling in love with him. One last thing, elders think that establishing a sexual relationship or a wedding night would magically make the girl fall in love with her husband, or her becoming a mother would improve her married life. But they forget that girls are emotional beings, and society has conditioned them to be more on the emotional side than the logical side, or than the more strategic side. How can anyone expect a girl raised in a restrictive, conservative, and patriarchal environment to be open and comfortable in experiencing a sexual intercourse with a guy about whom she is clueless, whom she doesn't like, just for the sake of pleasing the elders in the family, or to fulfill the societal norm, or to obey the caste or community norms? You are expecting that a girl who has been denied the basic freedom to talk to the opposite gender in a friendly manner, or in general, like we have our normal conversations with with the friends of the same gender, should agree to marry a complete stranger guy? Just like young girls who get tempted to enticing words of bad boys and agree to establish sexual relationship before marriage is completely wrong and against her well-being. In the same manner, getting her married to a stranger whom she doesn't like and asking her to establish sexual relationship and create babies is also cruelty and unjustified. If you fear that girls in your family can get into illegitimate relationships, that is establishing physical relationships with guys before marriage, if that troubles you, or if that is your concern, why it is not a concern for you that the same girl is being asked to establish the physical relationship with a guy in the name of marriage, but the fact that she doesn't like that guy, she doesn't know anything about that guy, she is only being pushed into that whole system of establishing intimate relationship with the opposite gender because she has performed certain ceremonies according to the societal norms. So both ways it is against her well-being, against her free will, against her highest good. Also, how can a marriage be successful if the wife is unhappy and traumatized? And how can a traumatized and unhappy wife raise happy and healthy children? Elders forget this fact that the whole motive behind getting a girl married in your caste and community and at a early age is to ensure that she gives birth to healthy children. But the fact that she is an emotional being and her emotion have a bearing or have a lot to do with her physical health, she would not be in a state mentally, physically, if she is unhappy in her marriage to give birth to healthy children. Neither she would be raising those children the way a healthy parent should, because I myself have suffered it, because my mother was never happy in her marriage. She used to vent out her frustration on me, and as early as a toddler, I am still aware that I was tortured as a child, as an infant, because my mother didn't liked the fact that she is not happy in that marriage and she has to raise me, because she took everything related to that marriage, including living with her husband or living with the in laws, living in that environment which was toxic and restrictive, and having to raise me and facing all the trouble which a mother goes through when she has to raise a child, it used to frustrate her, and all that frustration was vented out on me, and I was not given that healthy parenting or that healthy motherly environment, which is a basic right of every child. So getting a girl married as early as possible just to ensure that she breeds healthy children doesn't really end up going well along the same lines, because it doesn't really fulfills that agenda where you are getting her married because she can give birth early, and she has more chances of becoming a mother in a healthy body because she's young. But the fact that she's frustrated, she might not even like to raise a child at an early age, like my mother did. The whole purpose of arranged marriage, that is creating babies for the caste and community, fails because in most arranged marriages the girl transfers her traumas and frustrations to her children. Yes, and I have suffered it, and this was the case with all the other children in my bloodline, like my cousins, because most of the people or elderly people in my family, they got married through an arranged setup to please the elders in the family. And look, we, that is our generation, my generation, has bared the trauma of the marriages which took place to satisfy or please these elders or community members or the people belonging to the same caste. So these elders are not only destroying the girl's life, but they are also destroying the lives of the new generations for their ego and fun, which is shameful, like which is absolutely shameful. How can you destroy young people's life just to satisfy your ego, your entitlement that, oh, we are the elders, so every younger person in the family is ought to do things to please us, even if it destroys their life, even if it's against their free will, which is happening in this Indian society, and this should stop. And I have stopped it because I was exposed to this idea of getting married as soon as possible, as early as a child, because in school you are a child, and even though my relatives and elders in the family, they come from good professional background, like they were not beggars or uneducated people, but still they somehow felt that the only way they can control me, destroy me, and ensure that I remain a victim all my life, just like my mother and aunts, is by pushing me into this hell called marriage. And they would just keep on bringing this idea or thought of marriage, that get married, this is the proposal, this new proposal has come whenever I will have an exam, whenever I would be pursuing something related to my career. And they would always create a rift in my family, because my parents were heavily influenced by these evil beings who are known as the elders or relatives or blood relatives in my family. And in that process they have also ruined their relationship with me as parents, because I just failed to understand till date, like if someone has already suffered the negative consequences of getting married because of the elders, because of the caste and community, because they had to please their parents, how can they transfer the same trauma to their children, or how can they expect their child also to go through the same pain and go into that same rabbit hole where she would eventually find herself so miserable that she can also end her life. Because even as growing up, I had a very traumatic childhood. I was not given that healthy peaceful environment to grow up, because most of the times my parents would fight for some issue or other. And because divorce is not a very normal idea in Indian society. So obviously the marriage is sustaining, but at the cost of the trauma that I have received over the years growing up and having been raised by these people pleasers, which my parents are, but I'm not. And I had to fight a lot. And if you are in the same situation, make sure that you fight for yourself. It would take a lot of time, energy, and creativity which you could have put into some other things which would help you to grow professionally in your life, but you can't help it. You have to fight for yourself, otherwise you will end up like one of these girls who just gave up to the elders in the family and they got married and eventually they had to end their life. So make sure that doesn't happen with you and you stay a fighter, because every girl is a warrior. If you can create life out of you by going through degenerative process of body where your body goes through all kinds of trauma, you can definitely stand up for yourself and say a clear no that I'm not interested in carrying forward the same trauma which my parents have gone through and all the previous generations have gone through. So I hope you get the idea, and please make sure you don't agree or please the inappropriate elders of the Indian society, and don't ruin your life. You are born as a human and you have a free will, and nobody has the right to push you into this hell called marriage.